Hey guys, hey, welcome to the kitchen and happy Mother's Day to you. Today we're here in the Bring Back Sunday Dinner event, hostessed by our sweet Kathy with Quality Crafts by Kathy. And I want to thank her so much for doing this, for getting us all together, for letting me be a part of it. And I'm really thankful that she chose to give her Mother's Day time to do this today so that we can hang out with you guys. And I hope you're having a wonderful day. So a special thank you to Kathy. If you don't know my friend Kathy, I want to encourage you to get to know her. She's a blast. She is so much fun and she has the best heart, and you will love her and enjoy her very, very much. So her page is named in my description. I'm not sure the link worked. That is something I always struggle with, but it's Quality Crafts by Kathy, and she is just great. Hey Nicole, how are you, sweetheart? I hope you're having a good day. And we are going to make my mom's favorite cooked meal. Now, you guys hang out. Hey, Michelle, happy Mother's Day to you. Oh, thank you, Carol. I hope you're having a good day. Thank you, Kathy, for taking care of me. I appreciate it. Hey, Carol Ann, welcome in the kitchen. Welcome in the kitchen. I am still recovering from a very nasty fall about a little over a week ago. So we are going to move way slower in the kitchen than you are used to with me, but we're going to just enjoy some time together and hopefully put out a really nice Sunday dinner. Hey, Jeanette. So my mom was not thrilled with the kitchen, right? I told you many times it was not her happy place like it is mine. Hey, Linda. Hi, sweetheart. But her favorite meal to cook, and I've cooked it for you before, is we're going to do some fried chicken. Hey, Carol Stinson, happy Mother's Day to you. Hey, Cheryl, good to see you, honey. Happy Mother's Day. Was fried chicken, fried potatoes and gravy, and then, well, she did the fried potatoes and onions, and then she made pan gravy. Hey, Betty and Carolyn. And then we would always have green beans. That's about the only vegetable I knew much growing up, was corn and green beans. So thank you for sending me stars. That is so sweet. Hey, Cindy, happy Mother's Day. Hi, Joan, how are you? So that's what we're going to work on. Hey, Lulu, and we'll see how far we get, okay? But I'm going to do things a little bit different in other ways than I've done before. Not a whole lot, because this is good home cooking that I can remember my mom and my grandma doing. So we're going to get the green beans started first, because to make a good old country green bean recipe like we're doing today, it takes a little while. But I do like to add a little bit of my potato into my green beans. It cooks down, hi Barbara, and it just gives you a little creamy touch to that. No, I have not been live hardly at all this whole week. It has been, oops, I just threw that on the floor. Put a bowl right in front of me and threw it on the floor anyway. Hey, Cheryl M. And I had to cancel several things this week, and was not able to be in any position long enough to even craft or create. I'm doing much better. It is just, I know I'm going to get a few good hours a day. And so that gets you through, right? When you get over something enough where you know you're going to get a couple of good hours a day, you're like, okay, we can make it. We can make it. All right. So I just have my first potato here, and I am going to, hey, Barbara, good to see you. I'm going to chop this one potato up because I just want a little bit of it for my green beans, and I want to get them started. Okay, so peel my potatoes, cut it in little wedges, run them here through my little chop, and get them going. Lori Payne, how are you, sweetheart? We were at church this morning where my sweet little Sonny was dedicated, and that was just so sweet. Such an honor and a privilege to get to be there. All right, we're going to rearrange the pots. You know, we do that what seems like many, many times in my kitchen. But we're going to get these beans started. Hey, Jen. And then we're going to slide it to the back. Happy Mother's Day to you, my friend. All right, so I've got, to be real honest, this pot probably not big enough, but you know, it's what we're going to use. It's what we're going to use. And for my mom and grandma's country style green beans, you got to start them with some bacon grease. It's the only way to get them going. Thank you, Barbara, for your prayers. Needed and continued appreciated. I'm telling you, this is some raunchy stuff. All right, so we're going in with a heaping tablespoon of bacon grease. Now, you can fry up some bacon and have that, but any country cook I know around these parts, she's got a big old jar just like me, gross, it's never clean, of bacon grease. And anytime you fry bacon, you let it cool and you pour it in the jar. And then this jar of heavenly stuff lives in your refrigerator and you use it. You use it all the time in all your different cooking. So for our country style green beans, we're gonna do some onion, of course, our green beans, our bacon grease, a little bit of water to get them going, and then some little chunks of potato. And as that all cooks together, the potato is going to give us, ooh, look at that smoking. You see that already? Look at that. It smells good though, I tell you that. And it's going to give us a little bit of a creaminess because those potatoes are just going to disintegrate. That's what's going to happen to them. And so at my grandma's house, she always, I say always, and I try not to use words like that, but in her case, I think I'm accurate when I say always. I don't remember ever going to her house when she didn't have her little pressure cooker on her stove cooking something. And a lot of times, hey, Sherry Brown, it would have been green beans, or it would have been cabbage, or whatever she had going in that thing any given day. She always had it. And I can't think about her house without hearing that little pss, 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 pss sound of her pressure cooker doing its thing. Now, I never made friends. Hey, Ralph, how are you? I never made friends with my pressure cooker. Hello, guys. Hey, Chesney. All right. So my bacon grease, probably a couple of big tablespoons. I'm just going to drop a handful of this potato and onion. It doesn't matter. It's all to taste. Oh my gosh, isn't it great having this little chopper? Love it. Okay, and then I am gonna go grab our green beans. They're right there. This exact method will work, hi Sharon, with canned green beans. Hey Wendy, I love seeing your family in the kitchen. Or fresh, whichever one you have. And to be honest, after they cook, you can't tell the difference because we are gonna cook these for a while. A good country green bean like me too, Phyllis, I'm terrified of the thing. Like my mom and grandma did, there was no crunch left in your green beans, you know, none at all. It was all soft. All right, so in they go. They're gonna cook down. I think we can squeeze both of those bags in there. And that's what we're gonna try to do. Hey, Grace, how are you, honey? Happy Mother's Day. Hey, Teeny, how are you, sister? I'm so glad to see your name. Hey, Sandra. Sandra, you love yours? Now, do you have a stovetop model or do you have the, hey, Gina, happy Mother's Day to you. Do you have a fancy one? Because see, I think, do you like my thimble? Yeah, I love it too. I've been wearing it every day. All right, green beans in. Heaped up in that pan. I love these. I started to say because they're always snapped and there was an end on that one. Thank you, Wendy. And we're just gonna put them down in this pan and the ones I threw overboard. All right, and then I'm just gonna add a little bit of water. I'm talking good, Teeny. I'm gonna say about half a cup, maybe no more than that. And we're gonna see how much juice they make. If you're using canned green beans, you know, they have so much water in the can and so much water soaked into the beans. You don't have to add anything to them. They're gonna cook down. You've never used it, Marcella. You know, the people I know who've made friends with it, they love their pressure cooker. I just never have. I never got the feel for it. So there you go. You have a stovetop one with the pss, 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 pss. I do love hearing that sound. Like I said, that's the sound of my grandmother's house right there. Okay, so until these cook down a little bit, we're not even gonna stir them because I would just make a mess, right? Because my pan is full of bean. And now if you were at my mother, hey Vonda, or my grandmother's house, you would be just as apt to see this as a pan lid. You like it, Carol? Me too. As a lid, right? And I have never had the lid to this pan my grandmother used her pressure cooker every meal. It was amazing. Hey, Cheryl B. And so we never had matching lids to anything. You can't do cans. So this is our lid. Okay, and depending on how your pan fits it, it could either be upside down like this one or upside right, whichever seals it better. Okay, so anything will work as a lid. I've been known. I mean, whatever will cover it, right? We'll cover it. All right, these I'm going to move. Well, we'll go ahead and peel the rest of our potatoes, but then we're going to move them to the center burner and let them do their thing. So today, for our Sunday dinner, I have no idea who's coming or when or if we'll see anybody today. It's just kind of an unplanned, casual day. Everybody knows I've been laid pretty low. So, yeah, do you like my thimble? Yeah, it doesn't ring as good because this is mother of pearl, but I love it because it's so pretty. You grew up with a pressure cooker or electric skillet. Now, we did use our electric skillet a lot. I can remember my mom doing that, but my grandma's house, it was the sound of coming in her house. And no matter what day it was, you would hear grandma's pressure cooker pss, 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 in along in there. Thank you, Kathy. You mentioned heirloom jewelry, and I don't have any. Interesting story is my dad wore a gorgeous diamond ring that was given to him as a young man. Excuse me. He never took it off. Wore it every day, all day, his entire life. And as a young girl, he told me that when he passed away, that ring was my inheritance gift to him. And Dad also had 2 older daughters from another marriage. And when he died, I found out that he told all of us that. Isn't that funny? And so the ring was eventually passed on to my oldest nephew. One of my sister's sons. Isn't that a funny story? Oh, thank you. I've been to fancy church today, and I didn't feel like changing. And a dress is pretty stinking comfortable. So, but I do kind of look like June Cleaver today, don't I? I got my pearls on. I got my pearl bracelet on. I got my fancy dress and my apron. So this is not my normal. Hey, Chris Hunter, happy Mother's Day to you, sweetie. Thanks for letting us hang out in your kitchen this afternoon. I sure enjoyed it. And Bruce did pretty good, I gotta say. He was trying real hard, and he was a pretty good sous chef. So, and my mother, so my mom and dad did not stay married through my entire life. They did stay married till I was through high school. And my mom's wedding ring was one of these style. You know, everybody in the 40s and 50s had that ring. Not this one, but one very similar. And she gifted me her engagement portion of that ring. And I had it. And for a while, I had my dad's ring. And then when Greg and I first started dating, he gave me a little tiny diamond ring. 1679 pressure cooker? That is a fun fact, Ralph. That's terrifying. Our Amish neighbors, somebody would get burned terribly every year when they would have their pressure cooker on their open fire stoves and canning in the summer. Maybe that's why I'm so afraid of them. Anyway, so Greg gave me a little diamond promise ring when we started dating, and then we got engaged, and I had my engagement stone. Right? I am cooking Sunday dinner in my Sunday dress. I am. And so I had 4 diamonds in 4 rings, right? And after Greg and I had been married a few years, I asked him if he would be okay if we took all 4 of those and put them into one ring. And so he, being the guy who knows how to say yes, he said that was fine with him. So we took it to Zales, where they were doing a remount event, which meant that their cabinets were just full of ring mountings, and you could bring in your stones or buy stones there, of course. And we hunted and hunted and hunted, and I found a ring mount that I just loved, that with a little bit of adjustment would accommodate all 4 of the diamonds that I had. And we had it reset in there, and that was my wedding ring been forever. It did not appear like a wedding set, like we think of a, you know, a bridal set of rings. It was a very contemporary ring, but I loved it, and I wore it for years and years and years. And when my kids started getting engaged, we took that ring apart, and they have used the diamonds out of it to make engagement rings for them. So all of my heirloom jewelry has been dispersed already, and I bought myself this. Hey, Jeanette, I actually found the original 4-stone piece in this one myself, and then later on added the other side. And none of it new, all of it off Marketplace, of course. You were afraid of it too, Sharon? And so they don't match exactly, but I love them, and now that's what I wear. My mother did not wear jewelry. She had a mother's ring, which probably is in my jewelry box, to be honest. And she was a nurse, and so she wore a very simple watch, silver-faced with all the hands on it for her nursing career, and that's all she ever kept afterwards. And when she was married, she had a wedding ring. She was not a jewelry lady. My grandmother on her side was not. Now, my grandmother on Daddy's side, that's another story. She was fancy. She was a fancy city lady, and she had beautiful jewelry. And I do have a couple of pieces that came from her collection that my sister passed on to me. But anyway, I was thinking about that. The fun things that we have, the traditions that we got from our moms. Every time I look in the mirror, I look more and more like my grandmother every day. Oh my gosh, you were, what? Wait a minute. Who's confessed? Phyllis Gunn. Girl, you know what you want. That's an amazing story. That's amazing. Greg and I knew right away. We were finished with college. We were, you know, we were not little bitty kids anymore. He actually gave me my little promise ring after we'd been dating about 2 weeks. Then I didn't get my official engagement ring till a little bit later, but not too much later. We were married about 9 months after we met. So when you know, you know. Yep. All right. I got a second onion down here, which honestly is looking like it's been under my cabinet a while. Now, my mom's mom, Grandma, was a great gardener. And one of my favorite memories of her gardening, I can remember all of her canning and stuff like that, but I loved how she stored her onions. So did you guys have grandmothers that kept onions throughout the winter? And if you did, how did they store them? Hang on, do you hear them? I think we're ready to give them a little toss and see how they're doing. So if you're going to get a hold of that plate that you're using for a lid or a bowl, make sure you get a pot holder because there's no protection there, right? All right, now that we're starting to get a little steamage, we're going to try to get a little, start pulling that oil and seasoning up through our beans a little bit and get them coated better. All right. Fancy lid right back on, and we're just going to let them set. Yes, Chris Hunter. Exactly. So Grandma would save all the old stockings and pantyhose. Back in the day, I went to a private Christian school. Yep. And I had to wear hose quite a bit, and you never threw away a pair of pantyhose that got a runner in them. Those went to Grandma Bert, and at the end of onion season, she would thread one onion at a time down in there. Cheryl, you did too. We didn't waste around, girls, did we? And you had a promise ring too. And you would put one onion in the pantyhose, let it go all the way down to the toe. And then you would have your next one on top of that. And then you tie a knot. And so there were these long, 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 long strings of pantyhose, right, that were stretched, full of individual onions. And when you got old enough to be trusted to go to the cellar or the shed where those hung, there was old scissors hanging there, and you would take the scissors and then cut off the pantyhose one at a time. But you know, those onions like that, stored that way, they kept all winter long. Like I don't remember, we always had onions because, you know, I learned this from somebody. And we don't make anything at my house without an onion. I don't think I know how, because that's how I was raised. And anyway, that's how Grandma did hers. I often wonder how long we could keep something like that if we tried it today. I think it'd be fun. Anybody on here still do that? Or have you ever done that? Happy Mother's Day, Nicole. All right, I'm running my potatoes through my chopper here now. I think I've been trying to decide, so my brain has not been as quick this week as others, what order to attack our menu in, but I think we're going to do chicken last. So I think we're going to get these potatoes started, move our green beans to a back burner and let them simmer. My mother didn't like to cook, but this was her meal. This was her meal. Fried chicken, fried potatoes and onions, and then gravy made out of the pan drippings. That's how she saved hers last year. They got like that, Linda, in the hose. My grandma had a great cellar. It was actually her basement, but it had a cellar door going outside, so we called it a cellar. It was the scariest place on the whole farm. We hated it when we had to go down there for something. It was dark and it was dank. And there were all kinds of critters that loved to live down there. And she would give us grandkids jobs to do, you know, and go through the list of us and what needed to happen. And whoever got cellar duty, we were all like, ha, you got it this time. We're like, now we don't have to go in the cellar. Everybody wanted to go pump water. Now, you didn't have to pump water. She had indoor plumbing. Hey, Gloria. By the time I came along, she did. But there was still a pump outside the back of her house. And if she needed a bunch of water, she was convinced that bringing it up through her pipes was going to ruin her well and her new plumbing. And so you'd have to go pump the well pump. And now that was a job. Everybody wanted to do that one. But the cellar, nobody wanted to go down there. It was, I saw the biggest spider I've ever seen in my whole life down there. Daddy long legs. There would occasionally be a nice snake that wanted to get in there where it was cool and damp on the floor. Yeah, I was a suburban girl. I was raised in the suburbs, man. I didn't want to see that stuff. Okay, now we've got our potatoes chopped and our onions. And that was just 6 potatoes, y'all. That is really not so much. Yep, cellars with a dirt floor. And she lined all of her canned goods on shelves down there. And there was a little crawl space under the house where that kept things a little bit different temperature. Okay, we're going to slide our green bean pan over here. Pull our potato pan over here. Get some heat under the green beans. And we're just going to let them cook. They need every bit of the hour that we have today to make those really good. All right. I'm going to turn my heat up. And she kept, I had a dairy. I love that. All right. For our potatoes today, since we are doing it mom style, bacon grease. That's what we're cooking them in. Okay. We're not judging. This is how they would do it. This is how we're doing it today. To be honest, it's the way I like it best too. So it is twofold. Now, getting some good seasoning on potatoes is no joke. It is almost impossible. She did have a well. Yeah, I guess. So I was born in 1964. And by the time I was born, Grandma already lived on the farm, which meant her and her husband had moved from the city of St. Louis. They lived in the city of St. Louis, and they had bought a farm out in Cuba, Missouri, and she, you know, she did it all. They were homesteaders before homesteading was a thing, right? Or before it was a popular thing. Okay, so to get your potatoes to season is almost impossible, all right? But I find my best luck getting them to have some seasoned taste is bacon grease, because it has some flavor built in, And then before you even put those things in the pan, give them a really good, heavy salt, pepper, garlic mixture seasoning, okay? And start them out that way. Hey, Lou, welcome in. Happy Mother's Day to you too. I'm so glad you got a minute to stop by. And we're just gonna get this to melt around here in our big old skillet. Fried potatoes are a staple of the Southern food diet. There's only one trick to good fried potatoes, and that is you gotta leave them alone. That's the hardest thing in the world to do. Sharon, you're out planting. What a beautiful day for that it would be here. So we get these in the pan, and oh, a little flour, Phyllis, you do that? And we get them in the pan, we get them coated with the oil, and then you have to let them sit. Contact with the pan is what's going to give you a nice crispy fried potato, and that's how I like them. Hi, Diana. And that's the hardest thing, because everything in you is like, man, I got to stir those potatoes. So I try to make my fried potatoes when I've got something else to cook, and that way I have to ignore them because I don't have time. How do you know when to turn them when you're doing a good old country fried potato? First, another trick. If you like yours a little mushier, put a lid on it part of the time that they cook, and they will steam cook a little bit and be mushier. If you like yours with some more tooth to them, cook them on an open top. I almost always cook mine open top. But a lot of people, especially the older country folks, they like to kind of a mushy fried potato. And you get that simply by slapping a lid on it, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. As soon as that melts, these are gonna go in there. I'm gonna give them a quick toss. And then we're gonna let them sit. We know to turn them when our nose tells us it's time to turn them. They will begin to smell toasty, for lack of a better word. They will smell toasty, and then you know it's time to give them a toss, okay? And that's it. We're just going to ignore them. We're gonna let our ears and our nose do our timing for us. They also stop cooking. When they get a really good brown crust on them, you stop hearing so much cooking noise. And then you know that you can give them a good flip and they will be seared. They make all their noise before they get brown. And then they kind of get quiet when they have their brown coating. Okay, here we go. Potatoes and onions all in together, all at the same time. Now, a lot of times I prefer to put my potatoes in first and add my onions a little bit later, but my mom and grandma both did them this way. All right, this will be fun. Let's see if I can get my potatoes flipped around a little bit. All right. All right, that's it. We got them coated in the oil. Pretty much, they're on a almost high heat, okay? And they just need time now to cook. How are we doing? It's 1:26. I'm gonna mix up some pudding. We're going to make a simple no-cook dessert. We're kind of doing a trifle / shortcake, all right? So let's mix up our pudding while we've got a minute here. We're gonna let it firm up. Super, super simple. I can't do it if I pick up the pan better. I just scoot it across my burner. It's one of the joys of having a really nice heavy metal grate on a gas burner is that you can scrape that pan across the bottom of that without hurting anything. Okay. Let me grab my milk. I'll be right back. Go on, puppy. I don't need any help. All right, this is a big thing of pudding, so I need the 3 cups. Or 2.5. Let me grab the 1/2 and 1/2 and finish that up. All right, you hear our potatoes are cooking, right? So we're listening as it cooks. And then when it gets quiet, we know it's time to do that. I did not, Ruth, and I don't normally add any flour to my potatoes. All right, straight by the box directions, you guys. This is no fancy at all, and I flipped something in there. There we go. Okay, I'm going to give it a nice whisk, and I'm going to throw it in the fridge to firm up. Now, when this is done, it only takes, what, 5 minutes for an instant pudding to set up. And then we're going to, thank you, we're going to fold in our Cool Whip. And if we don't get to it, all we're going to do is we're going to cube up some pound cake. I have fresh strawberries and blackberries. We're going to put a layer of fruit, a layer of cake, a layer of fruit, a layer of this pudding whipped cream mixture, and layer it up. I do it in disposable plastic cups because I ain't washing nothing fancy on Mother's Day or honestly any other day. All right, so that's all there is to our dessert. In case we don't get to the assembly part, this is it. This is the only, quote, cooking you're gonna do for the whole thing. Okay, this goes in the fridge, and while I slide this in, I'm gonna get the chicken out of the fridge, and I'll be back in a second. Let's see if I can smell my potatoes, and we've had some good noise. It's not quite quieted down yet, but let's see what we got. Let's give them a little toss. All right, I saw just a few beginning to get some good color on them. All right, so our green beans are going. Can you see that pan? Yeah. Let's give them a little look. Okay. Bring them over here. You see how they've cooked down? Now we can really get in there and get those stirred up. Okay, our grease, our onion, our potato. Our potatoes have already turned to mush. I'm going to add about another ½ cup of water just to keep this like a potato soup and not like a paste. And we're going to give them a really good stir. And look just in that short period of time how they're beginning to break down. I'm going to add a little more water. I wouldn't add any more water if I had the right lid. But because I don't have the right lid, the steam is sneaking out through those little grooves and it's evaporating my water, okay? All right, here we go, lid back on. I'm gonna turn them down to about a medium low. Oh my goodness, look at that, get on there. And we're gonna let them go. All right, we're gonna take a little intermission and hang out here for just a second until I can flip those potatoes again. And then we're gonna switch our big pans around so that we can start frying chicken. So, I'm not a professional chicken fryer, let me just say. I do it how I like it. That's how we do it here. So my husband bought a whole family pack of chicken breasts. And I took each one of those big old chicken breasts and I trimmed off, you know, the icky parts. And then I put my hand on top of it, and with my knife, I sliced it into 2 thinner halves, just like you were cutting a cake layer in half so that you get more frosting to eat. And then I made some homemade buttermilk. So in this container, I put in about 2/3 of a cup of my half and half, and then about a tablespoon of white vinegar. Well, I do sweat, but only from the heat, Kathy, not from the cooking. But it gets a little hot in this corner of my kitchen. I got that all stirred up, and you know that that turns into the most luscious buttermilk that you can have. It also does the same kind of breakdown that people talk about when they marinate their chicken in pickle juice or other acidic ingredients. Into my homemade buttermilk, I put in a whole bunch of this. This comes from Aldi. You can only get it one season a year, and I think it's usually the spring for grilling season. So if you go to Aldi, be looking for kicked up chicken. It's great. It's a little strong, but for what we used it for, it's great. And some salt, pepper, garlic. I stirred that up. And that's been marinating only about half an hour in my fridge. Okay, here we go. I knocked my lid back off my other pan again. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but we're starting to get some nice brown spots in our potatoes. Do you see that? That'll never happen if you stand there and stir them and stir them and stir them. If you do that, all you're going to get is a mushy mess, okay? You got to let them be. All right. Let's see how hot my bowl is. Not bad. Put it back on again. All right. And in comes my chicken frying pan. All right. You know, now that those have cooked down, I can put the lid that way and it won't fall off all the time. And if you don't want any air leaking over there, throw yourself a dish towel over it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be just fine. Okay. So now I have this massive container of buttermilk and seasoning marinated chicken breast. Okay. I do this only when I am wanting a little heavier crust. A lot of times when I make my fried chicken, I don't marinate it at all, and I go naked chicken into flour and into the oil because that just gives you a very light coating. My mother would not approve. She wanted big crunchy coating on her chicken. Oh my goodness. And she wanted it to, wow, she wanted it to leave a whole bunch of evidence in her pan so that she could have all those crispy bits in her gravy. Let's see. Is that going to do it? Can you almost smell the potatoes? I may have to call in the cavalry to open the oil. What in the world? There we go. Whoo! That was a lot. Now, you can fry your chicken anywhere from barely the bottom of the pan covered all the way to deep frying. But I'm too cheap for that. I don't want to put that much oil in my pan to deep fry. This bottle is a 48-ounce bottle. It was about here. Now it's about here. I'm guessing I put about 1.5 cups to 2 cups maybe of oil in there. All right, and it needs to get hot. All right, it's got to get hot to crisp up your chicken. That's why I don't make a lot of fried chicken, because it has to get hot to make crispies, and then I tend to burn it by the time I get the inside done. So I've got a whole lot here to fry today. And what I do on a normal day, and I just got to tell you, I can't bend over to do it today, is I would normally have my oven turned on here next to me and have a big cookie sheet in there. And after I got them done, I would slide them into a preheated oven. Hey, Capri, hi, sweetheart, happy Mother's Day to you. And that would do 2 things. It would help finish any cooking process that I didn't quite get done in the middle. And it would also work. Crisco works great. I just don't always have it, Phyllis. And then it finishes them cooking. It keeps them crispy. It keeps them hot. And then if I don't get them completely done in my skillet before they burn all the bits, then I'm okay. All right, same seasoning in my flour as is in my marinade. So a good amount of the kicked up chicken. You use whatever seasoning you like. I do really, really, really like a lot of salt and pepper because it's really hard to get any seasoning. And I really, really like any kind of a grill seasoning that you would put on your chicken, okay? You can't get enough seasoning on here to, it's really hard. You can't over season, right? I don't think you could over season. Okay. Now I'm just going to come down in here in my tub and I'm going to dig down a little bit because I want some of the ones that might have a little bit more of the buttermilk, and let the other one settle in. So see, we're dripping with buttermilk. We're not scraping it off. We're placing it in our flour. We're giving it a really good flip. If you really, really, really want super thick coating, you can double dip and go again. Oh, Crisco. I love Crisco for baking, okay? And the heat is rolling out from under my skillet, so I'm assuming we're hot enough. Yep. And in we go. Okay? And we're just gonna get a few of these coated up and get them started. Ooh, it's gonna get hot up in here now. All the time I'm doing this, I'm still listening to those crazy potatoes because I don't want to burn them up. All right, and it's getting real close to needing a flip. Ooh, that's a big one. So I have much better luck frying my chicken this way when it's thinner pieces because it will cook through in the middle sooner, because that was always my problem with traditional fried chicken. The skin and the outside would get so burnt up before I could get the inside of my chicken cooked, okay? And this is what works best for me, all right? They are, Betty, there's just no room in here. One thing about a camera lens is it's deceptive. It looks like we got a lot of space that we don't really have. Okay. Time to flip. Can't ignore them anymore. They're quiet. You hear that? Oh, now we're getting some beautiful color over there. Throw them over. Get them coated. And put it in there. We're going to quit with 4. I think that's about enough for our skillet. All right, and now we're just gonna let them cook. Whoa, do we have a minute? Do we have a minute? All right, here's my flour. I'm gonna set it over here out of the way. Move my nasty chicken board out of the way because we don't wanna risk that. And let's chop up those strawberries so that they're ready. My blackberries came right from the kids' garden. They have a berry patch last year. And they've been frozen, so they're good to go. But we need to do a little cutting up of our strawberries for dessert. Now, if you went to my grandma's house, you guys, I was thinking about her. You know, around Mother's Day, you think about all your people, right? You can't help it. I'm just going to stand here and rinse out this potato chopper bowl to put my fruit in. All right. Just need something to throw some chopped up strawberries in. I was thinking about my grandma's house because I'm not a big dessert maker. My mom we didn't eat dessert with dinner. Like, dessert was a very special thing for us, and so you just didn't have it every day. But when you would go to my grandma's house, she had an old dining room table that sat in her dining room, but you didn't sit at it. It sat under the window. And she had one in her kitchen as well, a little table. And one of those tables would be dedicated to desserts. And she knew that I loved chocolate cake, so there would almost always be a chocolate cake when I was there. Somebody else liked the white cake with the coconut frosting, you know, the 7-minute frosting on it. And there would be a whole cake. And there would be a couple of pies. There might be a cobbler. I don't know how she did all that. Hi, Michelle. Happy Mother's Day to you. Hi, Dana. How are you, hon? Anyway, I got to thinking, and I hadn't thought about her house in a long time. It was an old country farmhouse, and her kitchen was so tiny. Because I was wondering, how come I don't remember helping her in the kitchen? It's because there was no way you could get 2 people in her kitchen. All right, let's take a peek. Oh, yeah. Get those gently rolled over. I don't want to leave my skin in there. My skin, not the chicken. All right, let's see if this one's ready. May not be. This one feels ready. All right. And go ahead and flip this one. All right. Her kitchen was so tiny. Carol, it was so much dessert. And I don't know what she did with it. Like, we would only be there a day or two. Did she freeze it when we were gone? I don't remember. But her kitchen was the tiniest place. There was, I can firmly remember, over in the corner, if you would like in my corner, there was a door that had a tiny pantry. I do remember that, with shelves all the way around. And, you know, that would be another place you'd have to go digging in. But you weren't scared of it. It wasn't dark in there. Next to that was a door that went down in the basement. And I remember the stairs door being there. And then there was a piece of countertop. It was just wide enough to hold her dish drainer. That's how old it was. Or that's how small it was. That's all that would fit there. That's all that ever sat there, because that's all the space there was her dish drainer. And then there was the sink, right? And she had a regular double sink, but it was small. I can remember that. Because you would have to wash dishes in load after load after load, because it would get so full. And then she had another little tiny chunk of countertop. And that was where she dried her dishes, because she had to have a place to dry her dishes. That's also the only prep space she had in that kitchen. And I think it was in my childhood memory, which, you know, everything's bigger then, I think it was about 18 inches wide. And then there was her stove, and that was it. Her refrigerator was on the opposite wall. So if you were at the sink, it would have been behind you. And you could not open her refrigerator door without hitting the sink cabinets. That's how narrow it was. And the refrigerator was the only thing on that wall. There was no other room. So I realized the reason I don't have a lot of cooking memories is there's just no way. First of all, I have no idea how did she manage, right, to produce all that kind of food with absolutely zero workspace. All right, I got to flip the potatoes because we're getting real close on them. Once your potatoes really get to browning, they brown really fast. So you start out where you flip them every 5 minutes, but towards the end, you're giving them those final tosses. It's every minute or two, because it'll quit cooking. It's getting more and more of that crunchy spot. So we have got, they were tiny, Carol, and the most unusable space, like over under her window by the pantry door, there was a pass-through door with an arch that went in the dining room. And then on the other side of her fridge, there was another arch. There was a tiny little cabinet on each side of her refrigerator. I remember because one held the coffee pot. Grandpa had to have his coffee. And the other side might have held 1 or 2 canisters. I think I remember that. Maybe just one side had it. It's been a long, long, long time since I've been there. It's been a long, long time since she's been there. Let's not be silly. Okay. Now these blackberries I just pulled out of my freezer, so they're still frozen. But look how beautiful they froze. These were straight out of the garden, dried, and thrown in a bag in my freezer. I didn't do one bit of prep to them, okay? But I love a super sweet strawberry along with the sourness, the tartness of a good blackberry. So we're just gonna combine these. You can sprinkle them with some sugar, but with our pudding whipped cream mixture, we don't really need to. So I'm just going to let them set. I am turning off the potatoes. I think it's coming off. There we go. Let me grab you a big spoon so you can see some. And this is what we're looking for in our fried potatoes. How's that look? You like berries, Kathy? I love berries too. But there you go. Isn't that, you smell them? They smell pretty good. I'll season them one more time just with salt and pepper. Okay? And those are just gonna sit there and wait for us. They're done. So we have one element waiting for us. Another really hearty salt and pepper and one more toss to get that seasoning, you know? And I think my chicken needs a checking. Yep. Now I tell when my chicken's done by the firmness of it. All right, it's nice and firm now. I know it's about finished. I want my second side, which was my first side, right? I want it to go ahead and get just a little bit browner. So I always do it, and then I always give it one last minute on this other side. Now you're gonna think this is funny, but little kitchens, you have to be flexible. This is my cooling rack. It's going on top of my potato pan. And when I take my chicken out of my pan, it's going on top of there. Like it's gonna hurt anything if that drips a little bit into our fried potatoes, right? Okay, there we go. Let me get a hold of it good. And there is our beautiful fried chicken. Boneless, skinless chicken breast is what we're doing today. Okay, we're just gonna drain them out. And lay them right on top of my fried potato pan, okay? The heat from the potatoes is gonna help keep my chicken hot. And like I said, any oil that drips out of this chicken is gonna be just fine on top of my potatoes. So they get along pretty well. Now we're gonna coat up some more and put it in there, and then our green beans are gonna be done. I can tell because they're really quiet too. All right, digging down in here. Oh, it's stuck. Come on, baby. There we go. Did you hear that? It was suctioned in there. That was kind of gross. For your sleep sound machine. Of course you can, Kathy. Everything we put out there is public domain, right? People do with it whatever they want. That's fine with me. All right, rolling it around. Get some oil. Get that good buttermilk all coated in the flour. And in it goes. Hot oil. I'm also not going to get our gravy made while we're here live, but all I do for that is I drain off most of my oil, most of it. I throw this flour that's left over, goes in my oil to make a good roux. I let it cook up a little bit, and then I go in with milk, because my mama likes milk gravy. She liked white gravy, she called it, with her chicken, so that's what I make with my fried chicken. Okay. Oh, get a little more flour right there. That's the way that looks. All right, there we go. Going in. And let's go ahead and get this skillet filled, and we will call chicken good. You guys, Miss Kathy herself, Miss Fun Lady in the Kitchen, Quality Crafts by Kathy, is up right after me. And if you're going to hang out in anybody's kitchen to have a good time, hers is the one. So hop over there, make sure you stay around. There is a link that is pinned in my description, and you can just go to the group where everybody's cooking today. We've got several more coming. And if you would enjoy some company this Mother's Day afternoon, we're here for you. We're here for you. All right. Getting my flour flipped around in there. I don't press my flour in when I do milk, but I do try to make sure it all gets a coating. Sometimes better than others. Okay. And there you go. There goes our next 4. Chicken breast, I think that leaves me 4 more. 1 more run, and we'll have all that chicken fried. Now, we won't eat all that chicken today, but it will not go to waste here at my house. Not for 1 minute. All right, let's check our beans. They should be done enough, but we're going to leave them cooking until dinner time. They could be done now. They could sit there and simmer for another 2 hours. So they're really a great recipe that way. All right. So we're getting some beautiful breakdown of our beans now in there. You can see that we're getting strings, and we're getting, this is how they're looking in there. I'm going to put a little more water in my pan because, like I said, my bowl isn't sealing up my pan. So I keep adding a little more water, just enough for them to kind of sit in. Hey, Miss Beverly, I hope your day's going good. I hope you're having a good one. All right, and I'm gonna put my lid right back on those green beans. And let's see. I'm thinking, okay? I'm thinking a minute because I want to put together dessert for you real quick. And I got to clean up a little bit because nobody wants to see my chicken splattering all over my beautiful dessert. Okay, rinse my hands. You can make this dessert in a big bowl, all right? Oh, I'm glad you got this. Come by, Carol. You can make this in a big trifle bowl, and it's beautiful. That makes a mess for me, to be honest, so I make mine individual. So I just grabbed a couple of plastic cups for today. All right, just these clear plastic solo cups. They're a little bit bigger than I would like, but they're also what I have. So that's what we got for now. Grab my pudding, which is all set up in there. Grab a tub of Cool Whip. One more big old spoon. All right, so my Cool Whip is probably a little bit frozen still. That's okay. I should have done this when we weren't here together because these things are kind of a pain in the rear end. Kind of a pain in the rear end. So I have my 3 cups of pudding. To be real honest with you, I do the exact same thing if it was the smaller box of pudding and it just had the 2 cups of milk in it. I do make the pudding recipe for this and not the pie filling, although that doesn't make any difference either. All right, so this goes into here. Okay. What do you do with this bowl? You save it till nobody's looking and then you clean it out with your finger. It's called the cook's tax, all right? So I just, because it's a little bit frozen, you give it the business. And then I'm not folding, I'm just stirring, okay? Nothing fancy. All right? And so we're just combining our pudding and our Cool Whip. Homemade whipped cream is fine. We're going fast and easy here. All right? Now, let me just grab a quick plate. Anybody else still use Tupperware luncheon plates in their kitchen? They are the standard of use at my house. And we just have butter pound cake. You can use angel food cake if you prefer it. All right? And I'm just going to take it out of here. Grab one more clean knife. I'm going to take a few pieces of it. I'm going to cube it up for this. Oh, my oven's hot. I turned it on in case I was going to put the chicken in there and then changed my mind. So I heated my kitchen up for nothing, y'all. All right? And I don't make these up in big mass usually. To be honest, around here, it would probably be self-serve, make your own at the end of dinner. I'm just putting you guys together one. Just because, right? All right, we got to flip our chicken because that stuff is looking very brown. All right, pound cake cubes. Can you make your own? The question would be, can you? I can. I just don't. Oh, that was almost a disaster. Flipped off my fork. Be careful. My mother and grandmother would have always used a fork to flip the stuff in their skillet. Like they would have never used tongs or anything like that. Okay, we're just going to make layers. We're going to go in with a little layer of this. We're going to add a little layer of berries because if my berries had had time to make juice, that would be nice to soak into our cake. It would have been pretty, right? But it didn't because, you know, we're doing it here. All right? Then we're going to take a nice scoop of our pudding whipped cream. Cook's tax again. Give it a little shake and it will go down in there. Okay? And then I'm just going to repeat it for this one. Cake, fruit, and after you eat this heavy carb meal of our fried chicken, our fried potatoes, our country greasy green beans, and our gravy, a nice, cool, lightweight dessert is what you want. Yeah. All right, and there you go. So you have a really pretty little simple layered dessert. Make it with anything you like. Make it with brownies and strawberries and chocolate pudding or any mixture you can come up with. No matter how you do it, it's going to be good. You're afraid of the grease? I'm not anymore. To be honest, I think I've burned myself so many times I don't feel it like I used to. All right. So we have our beautiful dessert. Our green beans are done. They're just sitting over there staying warm. Our fried potatoes are finished. And we've got our second round of chicken going. When I get off of here with you guys, the only thing I'm going to do is make some pan gravy. And I'll wait and fry the rest of the chicken later because Mama's hot and she's ready to go sit down. Hang on, refresh in that group. Go find my friend Kathy at Quality Crafts by Kathy and hang out with her. Tell her I said hi, send her kisses. Happy Mother's Day. Oh, a little cinnamon. That sounds really good. Good idea. All right, thank you guys for hanging out in the kitchen and being patient with me and you know, always being here and loving on me. Tonight, later on after this event's over, we've got the friendship journals going on. Team Junk will be on a little bit later today. So I will see you in the comments there if you get some chances to hang out. I hope you know today that you are loved. I hope no matter what your mama or your mothering situation may be, that you are treasured, that you are loved, that you are seen, and that you are wanted, and that you mean the world to me. Happy Mother's Day to each of you that love me and let me experience what it is to have a mother around. The ones that let me mother them a little bit, and the ones where we share the journey. See you guys real soon. Bye.